Today on The Business of Creators, we're talking to Teddy Solomon, co-founder of a platform called Fizz.
Fizz is the Gen Z social platform where people will connect around their shared experiences.
There's no curated highlight reels. Fizz is bringing real life to the forefront.
A place where people have the ability to post anonymously, they can be their authentic selves.
You'll hear how removing the pressure to be perfect is unlocking massive creativity.
We don't believe that you need to be perfect on Fizz. We think the whole thing should be democratized.
Plus, learn why authenticity is the future of the creator economy.
The things that happen on Fizz are a direct reflection of what actually happens in real life.
And hear the bold tactics that help Fizz explode across campuses.
So I snuck like 1,000 donuts onto Pepperdine's campus. Their security chased me off campus. It was what it was, but we got the whole school onto the app. It's the #1 app on college campuses in the US.
Catch my full conversation with Teddy. Excellent. So today on the podcast, I'm joined by Teddy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Ian.
So let's just jump straight into it. Can you explain to everyone what is Fizz?
Totally. Well, Fizz is the Gen Z social platform where people will connect around their shared experiences. It's the #1 app on college campuses in the US. It's a place where people will post images and polls, videos, DM people, the whole 9 yards within this private community where you verify with your .edu email. It's only students at your school. And what people like to do on there, they post about parties, classes, confessions, memes, jokes, buying and selling things in the marketplace. Really the whole 9 yards. It's the one-stop shop for campus life and the place where you connect with people who mean something to you.
Amazing. And what was the Lightbulb moment? What started it for you?
Yeah, it was back in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic. I was 18 years old. I grew up in San Francisco, always had this dream of becoming a college basketball journalist, which I am not doing now. But I got into Stanford and committed there, was really excited to be able to go to college. And obviously a global pandemic hit, so that was not going to be happening. And I got into a Zoom call with about 100 people in maybe August of 2020. And when I got onto that Zoom call, they put us into breakout rooms. And I got put into this room with another guy named Ashton. He was in Columbus, Ohio. I was in San Francisco. And I said to him, I have this idea. We all go move to Scottsdale, Arizona, where it's super cheap because we could not afford to live in the Bay Area. It's super cheap out there. We can create this bubble and just go exist and kind of live our college lives. And Ashton was on board, shockingly. I couldn't believe it. And we ended up going and getting about 30 people to come with us and go live across 4 houses in Scottsdale, Arizona. And that was kind of where our journey began. We arrived in Scottsdale. We saw that people were using Instagram, where you post twice a year. It's a highlight reel. It's the moments of your life that don't actually represent the realist days that you exist in. People had this giant group chat, 1,200 people, the Stanford class of 24, but nobody would speak. It would be maybe 2 or 3 people, and everybody else, having grown up natively on social media, did not want to actually say anything that wasn't perfect, because that's what you're expected to do on what we've traditionally thought social media to be. And that was when we started building Fizz. We said there's got to be a better way, a place where people have the ability to post anonymously, they can be their authentic selves, a place where people can have a private community where you can talk about the 99% of things that are not on Instagram and not on TikTok. Meaning, if on Instagram you're talking about your trip to Europe, well, on Fizz, you're going to be talking about when you failed your exam yesterday. Or you might be talking about your new significant other that you met. Or you might be talking about what's being served at the dining hall. But things that you would not put on any other social media platform because they're real. They're the 99% of your life. So that's how it got started. Fast forward 3 years now, we're the biggest app on US campuses across 350 colleges, and it's been an incredible journey. So, yeah.
Well, that's amazing. I'd love to get into the detail of it. What did the first version of the app look like?
It was really simple and not great. We were just me and Ashton back in 2020 working on it. We spent our entire freshman year jumping around the country. So we went to Scottsdale, we were in Michigan, we were in Florida, we were in Nashville, we were all over the place just building this app and then testing it out with the people who we were living with. So we were living in houses with other Stanford freshmen, which was exciting and interesting and something we'd never be able to replicate again, just because the pandemic brought us all together. But we were able to create this really simplistic feed where people could post text and images within a private community where you're barred within the experience that you share, in this case, the college that you go to. And we got a lot of really quick feedback, people saying, well, we want to be able to direct message each other because there's no way to be able to communicate one-on-one in an authentic manner with people that you might connect to or share a common experience with. People said, we want a leaderboard. We want to be able to compete with one another, to be able to get to the top of my school and have the most popular content on the platform. We implemented videos and GIFs and a marketplace onto the platform later on. So the platform you see today, it's the same thesis, this idea that we build a community around shared experience, context, and identity, where you can bond around your most authentic moments that don't make it onto Instagram or TikTok. But the platform itself and the features we actually offer, it looks really different nowadays because it's a much more advanced platform than it was.
Got it. Well, I want to get into the detail of that in a minute, but can you just explain, in those early days, how did you convince the first users to get on the platform?
Yeah, so we launched at Stanford in July of 2021. It was a strange summer. They let the entire Stanford incoming sophomore class come to campus. So there were 2,000 people on campus. And I remember one night basically calling up about 20 people that I knew who lived in 20 different dorms on campus. And I said, I really need you guys to go open the door of your dorm at 6 a.m. tomorrow. And they were like, what? I was like, just trust me. Just go to the front door of the dorm and just open it up at 6 a.m. And then I called, 5 or 6 of my friends. I said, can you guys help me out with something tomorrow morning at 6 a.m.? I went to the library. I printed out like 700 flyers for this app that we had been building. And I said to them, we have 20 dorm doors that are going to be open, which was every dorm on campus that the class was living in. You're basically just going to run through campus and go get flyers under as many doors as humanly possible as quickly as possible. And in a matter of 20 minutes, everybody is going to have a flyer about this unknown app that's like bringing them together on campus, but they've never heard of it. And we'll see what happens. By the end of the day, we had so many students using the app. It was already taking over Stanford. It blew our minds. And, like I said at the start, I had a dream of becoming a college basketball journalist. Starting an app for college students was not necessarily on my life's plan, but a great time nonetheless. And we were really excited in the moment to see everybody hop on. It was really special.
I love that. It's a great start to it. And you sort of explained how it's evolved. Can you take us through sort of the philosophy of the app now, where it's at, and sort of the anonymity of it all?
Sure. So people have the ability to post anonymously. They can also post with a pseudonym or a handle. We have verified organizations on the platform. So if you are the president of a fraternity or a sorority or the student newspaper, you might want to source students, or you might be a club on campus throwing an event. You kind of have a range of identity that you can play around with on there. And what you always know within the community is you know who's in the community. It's the people who you go to school with. You just don't know who's who within the community, and that's what brings out the most authentic part of people. On your typical social media platform, you have the 1-9-90 rule. You have 1% posting, 9% commenting, 90% lurking. We have 30% of our weekly active users creating posts. And that is because people are so comfortable actually speaking their mind to the people who they share a common experience with. And it's really hyper-local in that sense. With time, we've added things in, like I've said, to really inject utility into the platform. Our marketplace was a big step where people are able to buy and sell in a peer-to-peer manner. Obviously, there's an identity component to that because you need to go meet up with the person to be able to do the transaction. But the reason that people use it over Facebook Marketplace or eBay or any other alternative that they might have is because it's safe. You're able to just go to the dorm next door and you know it's somebody at your school that you're selling this item of clothing to, or your TV, or the most searched item in our marketplace is cars. People will sell cars, which baffles me, but it's super cool to see. And in my case, when I moved into the house that I was living in Palo Alto, I bought everything on Fizz Marketplace. And when I moved to New York a month ago and I moved out, I sold everything on Fizz Marketplace. And it's so cool to be able to actually see it in action and see how unbelievably efficient that is. So with time, we've injected utility. We've stayed true to our belief around anonymity being something really powerful and something that can be used for good. And I'm sure we'll talk about a little later, we now have a new version of the product that brings campuses together, and that has been just a whole new dimension of what we're capable of doing here and how we can bring people together globally rather than in a siloed manner just on their campus.
Got it. Got it. And you've touched on it a bit, but what kind of content really thrives on the platform?
It's a strong mix. I'd say it's a split between utility and humor. People will talk quite a bit about parties on campus. They'll talk about club meetings. They'll talk about the classes themselves, which ones they should be taking, which ones they shouldn't be taking. They'll also post jokes about things on campus. If the food at the dining hall is really bad, they're going to be posting about it. If it's super good, they're also going to be posting about it. So it really is just anything and everything with respect to campus life. I remember there was a super hard econ final that I took in my last quarter while I was at Stanford before dropping out. And I walked out of the econ final, I went on to Fizz, and everybody was talking about how hard it was because there were, like 200 people in that econ class. And that was so cool to me because it's really real time. It answers the question, what's happening now, but in a hyper local sense. And that's not something you can really get out of any other platform that you might be using.
Yeah, yeah. And I think one of the big ideas is that there aren't influencers, right? It's almost like a no influencer type thing. Can you take us through sort of how you think about influencers, creators, that type of thing?
So I think about influencers just a little bit different. I think Fizz does have influencers. They're usually called like Fizzfluencers by like the
Okay.
people who are a part of it. And what that means is they're able to build a reputation within the platform itself. They are able to earn a bunch of karma from getting upvotes on their post. Their content might be really well known across the school. One of my buddies at Stanford, he would post this motivational message every single morning into the community. He became a legend on campus, but nobody knew it was him. And he would always be texting me like, "This is wild, it's taking off again," which was super cool. Stanford Daily wrote an article about what influencers on Fizz actually means, which was also a really cool thing to me. But in the traditional sense of influencers, where you have to be perfect, well, that's just not what we're all about. We don't believe that you need to be perfect on Fizz. We don't believe it has to be the 1% of your life. We don't believe only 1% of people can be the ones who are creating content. We think the whole thing should be democratized. We think everybody should be posting, and we think the person who never leaves their room should have the exact same access to both content creation and information as the person who's the president of the top frat on campus. And that is the most important thing about Fizz. It's that everything is democratized, from the moderation of it to the content itself to the creation of the content. It's a place where you can truly be equal with the people who are in your community, and you don't have to worry about being what you'd think of as a traditional influencer, which is a really cool aspect of it to me.
Nice. It reminds me of the artist Banksy, where everybody knows Banksy, but nobody knows who Banksy is. So, um, you spoke about the launch, but obviously it's growing really quickly. Can you explain a bit more about how you've been able to just scale so quickly?
Totally. So in the earliest days, I mean, taking us back to, I dropped out in December of 2021. In April of 2022, I showed up on Pepperdine's campus. I just showed up, started recruiting people off the campus, off the street there. Wanted people to really understand why the platform was meaningful to me and why it would be meaningful to them. So in the earliest days, it's Teddy walking around a campus asking people, "What's your story?" Really trying to understand how we can build a product for them. And then they help us launch with a bunch of donuts that we would give out to people on campus. So I snuck like 1,000 donuts onto Pepperdine's campus. Their security chased me off campus. It was what it was, but we got the whole school onto the app. That was a good time. Then a week later, we went to Chapman. That was our third school. We were able to do the same thing. That time I did not get chased off campus, which was great. And we were able to get the whole student body on again. And from there, it ensued this long journey of jumping campus by campus where we built a team of people. We have an unbelievable team of people that really empathize well with the college experience. I've been able to get out to 220 campuses where I like to spend a lot of time with the users, both pre-launch and post-launch, to understand how our platform actually impacts them. I dropped out of school when I was 19, so I've had the benefit of being college aged and just being able to show up and talk to people and be one with them, which has been a really good time. But the way that we grow now that we're at 300 plus campuses, is it's kind of just turning a crank and inbounds interest, which is basically if people want Fizz to come to their school, eventually we're going to bring it to their school. And if you are a student in college in 2025, you might not use the app, but you have a friend at another school who does use the app. So when the app launches at your school, you're going to end up joining. So as a result, we don't spend money anymore on marketing. We spend $0. We don't go hire ambassadors anymore on campuses. We don't give out donuts anymore on campuses. We still go to tons of campuses. I like to get out to many campuses a month to talk to users and get feedback and stay in touch. Like Now I'm 23. I'm like 1 foot in the grave. I'm getting old now. But I got to still stay in touch with what our user experience actually looks like. So we go out to campuses a lot, but we don't do it to launch. We are just launching schools really quickly. We've done about 50 in the last month. And we are doing that just as time goes on, and we'll be at every college in the next year or so, which is really exciting.
That's great. And you spoke about users and you spoke about the team, and I know that Fizz is peer moderated. So can you explain that system and how it works?
Right. So moderation has been a really incredible part of what we've done, and the era we exist in of AI and LLMs and
Mm.
everything that GPT and OpenAI have done. It's pretty incredible what's possible now in the realm of content moderation. So in the earliest days, it was, student moderators. We believed in this idea that a centralized moderation system doesn't work. If you go and you hire a centralized team overseas, that centralized team is not going to understand the content because it's so deeply hyper-local. The example I always give is at Stanford, if somebody were to say Arriaga sucks, well, a Stanford moderation team, or a centralized moderation team rather, they are going to remove the post and say that they're bullying Arriaga. But if you are a student at Stanford, you know that Arriaga is the name of the dining hall, and they are talking about the food at the dining hall. And as a result, we said, well, you need to have student moderators. As AI advanced, we were able to build these really incredible AI tools to make it so over 80% of the content that violates our guidelines, and we make sure that you cannot talk about students in a negative context. There's no hate speech on the platform. There's no misinformation on the platform and things of that sort. We were able to do the majority of moderation through AI while building a network of about 5,000 moderators across campuses. So we have 5,000 volunteer moderators who are students at the schools. They have a democratic voting system where they can vote against and with one another to be able to decide if posts stay up or if they come down. That system makes sure that no one moderator can go rogue and that they all work together around the culture of their school and the culture of the app. Every single moderator who comes on board, they get a notification in the app. They have to go through a training process. They have to ace multiple exams in the process. We know it's so important to make sure that it stays a positive space and that anonymity has both the potential to be used for really, really great things and really, really bad things. And we've always made sure that anonymity is on that side of adding a lot of wholesome, authentic value to community rather than any sort of negative outcomes. And that's what our moderation system has been able to do. So it's a hybrid model between AI and humans, and I don't think the human component is going away anytime soon, even if it's 1%.
Got it. Well, that's a really smart way to scale. And you're in hundreds of campuses now, and you're sort of beginning to connect across campus. So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so we've spent the past, I want to say, year plus building out what was our initial vision for the product, which is we always said we're building a siloed version of this product to build around these meaningful shared experiences that people have on campuses, which is where we were at the time and where we saw this clear problem of not being able to connect. But we always knew that once we built the critical mass, we could provide a global experience that was that much more meaningful. So our idea was, once we become the dominant college app, we are going to have the ability to allow people to keep their private experience, but give them a cross-community experience around their shared experiences, context, and identity. Those have always been the things that we've really keyed in on. In my experiences across campuses, I've found that while colleges are different, the students at Princeton, Dartmouth, Yale, and Stanford probably have a lot in common. The students at all the schools in Texas probably have a lot in common. The students at Stanford, Santa Clara University, and University of San Francisco probably have a lot in common. Even the students at Pace University and Suffolk University, which are both super urban schools in different cities, they also probably have a lot in common. And we said, well, there are so many facets of people's identities, whether it's religion or whether it's the sport that you play or the school that you go to, the location that you exist within. We need to be able to, one, let people keep their private experience. We're not like Facebook. We're not just breaking that apart. We believe that, one, they should keep that private experience, but two, they should have a global experience with people across the country. So we've kept this really private until now, but it's basically that about 5 months ago, we brought a quarter of our campuses together. It was super intentional how we brought these campuses together. They were requesting to be connected with one another. They were connected in a new version of the product. We totally rebuilt our feed, which previously was this simplistic feed that just bubbled up the best content within your school, but you could see everything, to this feed that's deeply personalized. We built a recommendation engine, we built a personalized feed, and it's all built around this idea that people have, 3, 4, 5 facets of their identity. They have a credential that says a lot about themselves. If they are a student at Stanford, stanford.edu might be their credential, but they might be from New York, and they might have many other aspects of their identity. We said, let's bring a quarter of our schools together and let's just test and see what happens. And what we've seen is it has completely blown up. So this cross-community version of the product, it is right now, it's risen by 50% in daily active users in the past 3 weeks alone. We have 8x'd our growth really recently from where it was a month ago. We, in that cohort of users, have almost doubled content creation. We've almost doubled engagement time within the platform. And the hardest thing about building in social media, and the reason 2012 snapped, that's kind of the last time it's been done, is it's not hard to go viral. It's hard to retain users. So we didn't want to go talk about this product to the world 1 month in or even 2 months in. But now that we're 5 months in and we're seeing in the past 3 weeks that we have 1.5x'd our daily base within this cohort, it says a lot to us. It says we just built a retentive social product, a global social product, where your private community is integrated into your global feed, where you have this global Fizz product that is so meaningful to all the aspects of your identity. And we're really proud of it and excited to get our entire base into this version of the product in the next year. And that is the long-term vision. You keep your private community, you have a global experience, you have a personalized, a recommended feed as you're existing within this global experience, and you connect with people who share your common experiences, your context, and your identity on a daily basis.
It's super impressive what you've built and how quickly it's growing. You're only 23, right? And you've got some investors on board. How are you finding that?
It's been a great time. I mean, I love doing what I do. I think we have a lot of investors on board. We've raised over $40 million, and I think in doing that process, something people appreciated about our entire team. I'm just one of the people here. We got Ashton, my co-founder. We have an amazing team of people around the table who are helping us do what we do every day. And for me, I've always been a little bit atypical, I think, in what investors come across, because some people go to Stanford with the intention of dropping out and starting a company. I went to Stanford with the intention of revealing the bracket on Selection Sunday and doing college basketball stuff. So I was never trying to go into startups. I was never trying to go into tech. I was never trying to build a company. I just always liked people's stories and people and how you can connect as many people as humanly possible. So as long as we've stayed true to our mission and who we are, it's kept us really, really focused and not let any of the external pressures of like investors or anything else really get to us. So we just have a good time what we're doing on a daily basis. Like I said, 200 plus campuses took up a lot of my time over the past many years, and I would not trade it for the world. I would much rather be on like Eastern Kentucky's campus talking to students who grew up on top of a coal mine and understanding their story than sitting in like an ivory tower and doing all of that. It just doesn't appeal to me. So I love doing what I do.
Makes absolute sense. And let's talk about the future. What do you think the future of social media looks like, and the future of Fizz?
I think we're in a really interesting time right now because you have Zuck and Facebook Meta talking about how Instagram and Facebook are not actually social media platforms. And I've been preaching this for the past many years. This idea that if they're the 1% of people's lives, like TikTok and like YouTube, they're building around entertainment. It's not social media, and we're building social media. We're trying to bring people together, and we are an offline platform. The things that happen on Fizz are a direct reflection of what actually happens in real life. So we had, the CEO of a very large company show up at our office and say, we want to bring community to our stores on campuses. They have stores on a lot of campuses. And we said, well, we can do that. We can give it a shot. Let's go bring as many people together at your store on one campus by just using the app. And the next Thursday, we got 600 people to show up at their store on campus. And we said, well, this is why this is not an entertainment platform. This is a social platform. So I believe the future of social media is doing what we're doing. It's bringing people together around common experience, context, and identity. Those are the things that actually bond you, where you have content that's actually meaningful to you. And when people ask me, 5 years down the line, what social media platforms are going to exist? Well, if we stick by the definition we have right now, well, then there will probably be four. It'll be Instagram, where you will continue to post your highlight reels, increasingly less to your friends and more so to the world. There's TikTok, where you will continue to have influencers posting. It's entertainment. We completely coexist with them and have nothing to do with what TikTok or Instagram do. There will be X, which is effectively a news platform rather than a social platform at this point, and it answers the same question as us, which is what's happening now, but X is global and we are hyper-local. Even when we say global, it's still content that is hyper-local to you and meaningful to you. And then there's Fizz, where you have communities around experiences, which differentiates from Reddit, which is communities around interests, which are much more surface level in my opinion than the daily basis experiences that you actually have. So I think there will be multiple platforms, but the definition of social media is changing. And when it comes to true social media, we're going to be one of the only players, because the big dogs that you would traditionally think of, like, they're moving into entertainment, and that's their choice.
Got it. And you touched on that big company there that you referred to. What's sort of the plans for monetization for Fizz?
Yeah, so we started running ads about 6 months ago,
Yeah.
but we're doing it in a really limited sense. I have maybe a borderline controversial opinion about ads, but my opinion is it does not need to hinder the user experience. It can actually make the user experience better if you're really strategic about it. So over the course of the past 6 months, we've worked with companies ranging from Perplexity to Kalshi to Quizlet most recently to run these really premium campaigns where the company that's advertising on Fizz, they're offering something to our users. It might be a month to a year free of Perplexity Pro. It might be a month free of Quizlet Plus or something along those lines in these scenarios where we're running the ads. And the reason companies are coming to us is they're saying, well, you guys are new to the game. You've only been around for a couple of years. But if I want to go reach every single student at Stanford, Yale, Tulane, Rice, Howard, Bethune-Cookman, wherever it might be around the US, there's only one place where I can do it, and it's on Fizz, where every single student is using the platform. So our offering to these companies is to say, well, our team has been to like 1,000 campuses cumulatively. We can help you guys with the messaging and help make it synergistic and resonate with our users. We can help you guys reach all of a campus at any given time. And as a result, companies are willing to spend a lot of money to be able to go reach college students. So I think we're going to build a great ads business, and we're going to do it slowly. We've brought in a pretty significant amount of revenue, considering we have nobody working on monetization within our company. We just believe that this is something we need to play around with right now and continue to make better and continue to understand how we can make it resonate with the users. So that's what we've been doing. We believe we'll build a great ads business. There are other ways to monetize. Our marketplace is not monetizable right now, and I don't think it's going to be a core part of that, but we could implement everything from jobs, which are heavily monetizable, and users have been asking us for that, to events, which are heavily monetizable, and users have been asking for that. So we'll see where we go. But the ads business is really where I'm looking right now.
Got it. Makes absolute sense. Teddy, it's been great. Before we wrap up, I imagine that, is there a point in time where it becomes beyond campuses and others can use it? And can you any thoughts on that roadmap?
Yeah, so on a limited basis, we are expanding beyond colleges in the next week.
Wow.
So this cross-community product is really boiled up to the point where we're seeing college students join so rapidly and asking us to bring in their friends who are not in college. We see that, students who went to Stanford or Harvard or Yale or Princeton, they might think that everybody graduates college. It's just not true. There are so many 19, 20, 21, 22, 23-year-olds who would otherwise be in college, but they decided that was not the route that they wanted to go on. And when I go to these campuses that have a 10% graduation rate, I went to Langston University for their first day of class, which is in Guthrie, Oklahoma. I think it's got a 7% graduation rate. And I know that of the students who came in that day and started school there, 93% are not in college 3 years later. So how can we build towards people not just who have a college experience, which is a pretty unique thing to have, but also the people who are not in college and who have communities that they want to connect in. So in the next week, we will be expanding beyond college. We're gonna fulfill our vision of being the Gen Z product. We're gonna take it slowly beyond college, and we're gonna continue to close out the college market. But we have a product now that works beyond college, and it's pretty exciting to us. So that's where we're going with it.
Very exciting. Well, I'm super keen to follow the journey. I love the vision and the mission you've got, and would love to revisit this conversation in a couple of years' time and see where you are with it. But well done on such a great product, and thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you, Ian. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Excellent.